This is MJ. I'm an author, an artist, and a podcast host, or a podcaster is what I meant to say. I love Star Wars, and this is my fully operational analysis of The Mandalorian Chapter 9. This is fully operational episode 28. You can find more at mjmunoz.com/FO or just mjmunoz.com. It's where all my work is kept and archived. Anyway, getting right into this. This was written and directed. It's the debut of Mandalorian Season 2. I was a little nervous that they would restart the chapter titling of the episodes, but fortunately they did not. This is Chapter 9, and it was written and directed by, not Dave Filoni, the other guy, the big guy, Chef, Happy Hogan. Why do I always do this? Jon Favreau. Anyway, there we go. Written and directed by Jon Favreau. It was, I think this is the longest episode of Mandalorian to date. It was entitled The Marshal, which I may or may not have already said. I've seen stuff online. I'm a little late to the party, so I've seen stuff giving a name to this Marshal, and he's a character who appeared in, let's say, Star Wars Aftermath, one of the 3 Star Wars Aftermath books written by Chuck Wendig. Anyway, I've got mixed feelings on Mr. Wendig, but that doesn't matter right now because I'm talking about this episode. I think this was the longest episode, and it had a lot of content. Like, there was so much going on. And I have to say that I really liked everything that was going on here. There were a couple things that I noticed were different. Like, there was a line that Mando said, like, oh, such and such is our only hope. And he said such and such was their only hope or someone's only hope in season 1. And I just thought, like, hopefully little things like that are just, like, just callbacks based on just like nostalgia callbacks that are just going to be in this first episode, the pilot of the new season. If a subsequent season can be said to have a pilot, I don't know. But hopefully it won't carry throughout everything, because then otherwise it'll get really irritating. But anyway, as a longtime Star Wars fan and a person who's played KOTOR, I noticed that they're going after a crate dragon, and at the end there's a crate dragon pearl, and I doubt most people know what that is. And it's just kind of funny that there popped up one here. And I guess with the scale of the Krayt Dragon in this episode versus the Krayt Dragon in KOTOR, there's no way you could stick that thing in a lightsaber. Maybe like a Death Star thing, but it's just kind of interesting that I don't know. Just kind of interesting that there's like a neat little callback there, and I think the Marshal's speeder is made out of like Anakin's pod racer, salvage parts and things like that. And it was a really interesting story. I thought it was interesting that we got the return of Boba Fett without it being the return of Boba Fett, but then at the very end of the episode we had the return of Boba Fett. And gosh, I think that's super interesting. And the whole thing feels so full of potential. And I'm not exactly sure why. Like, is that a spin-off bait? Do they want to do a spin-off Boba Fett story starring, oh gosh, not Jeremy, that's the other guy. Jeremy Bulloch was the original Boba Fett suit actor, I guess you could call him, from Empire and Return of the Jedi. Actually, there were other guys too, but he's like the main one that everybody thinks of. And I think he did the original voice for Boba Fett. Gosh, I'm thinking about the Maori guy, whose name is not Daniel Logan, that's the younger guy. This is, oh my goodness. He was in Dora the Explorer, if that helps. My kids watched that, and I was like, hey, it's this guy. I wonder if that's him getting ready to be in Star Wars again. Gosh, I cannot remember the name of this man. But the guy who played Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, and who played all the clone troopers in that, wow, I'm having a hard time today. Revenge of the Sith. I think it's really bothering me that I can't remember. Tamara Morrison. I believe his name is Tamara Morrison. Anyway, so, what is that? Is that just something to tease fans, or is it an Easter egg, or not an Easter egg, but like a little cameo, or is it something else? I don't know. I feel a little dubious about, or the reason I feel a little dubious about it is that just a cool thing to be in there? There's this snowflake writing method where you leave things and it's all different stuff that you could branch off and tell, hundreds of stories, which is why you have shows where they have, casts of 20 or 30 people, and each of them has interesting stories that are being told about them. And, I'm cool with that. I mean, Star Wars technically is that at this point. The Mandalorian is a snowflake based off of, he's a branch off of, the larger Star Wars story, the Skywalker saga, which all stem from the original trilogy, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's fine. So anyway, other than being, cautious and dubious about some of the stuff going on, I got to say I really liked it. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was weird that the Krayt Dragon was kind of more like a graboid. If you've seen old 90s movie, I guess it is, Tremors. It's more like one of those, which was a little strange to me. That's not what I was expecting. But then again, that's okay. I was okay with my expectations being subverted in this case. But yeah, I really like the idea of the episode overall. Mando's got to track down. I'm surprised that he's tracking down other Mandalorians specifically to help him locate the child's home planet, home world, and species, so he can return them to him. That just didn't seem like it was. It didn't seem like that was the likely place he would go. I would think he would have, like, as a Mandalorian, just been like, hey, I'm a pretty capable dude. I'm gonna go and find zoologists, biologists, find somebody who knows about all the different species in the galaxy and work through them. I don't know how a Mandalorian's going to lead this Mandalorian, Din, to the child's people. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So that's kind of like, I don't know if, I'm not going to call it a plot hole, but it's just kind of weird. And then it's another instance where, the Mandalorian tries to do something, he encounters an obstacle, and then, we spend an entire episode with that obstacle. He goes to, he finds, not Fett, but the Fett armor, and, he demands to have it back from the Marshal, and then it ultimately, in order to get it back without having to kill the guy, and because the Krayt Dragon thing is, pressing, there's a win-win situation, scenario that presents itself where, they go ahead and do this. And, he gets the Beskar, which I guess it's a Beskar that's painted, right? And that's probably the idea. Anyway, he gets the Beskar, he gets some meat. I don't know, it's interesting because it really is a win-win-win situation. There's peace between the Tuskens and the town of Mos per something. Anyway, there's peace between them. The Krayt Dragon is dead. It's going to stop, hurting these people, which I don't know the ecology of Tatooine or whatever. I don't know how necessary those things are to exist, but people shoot coyotes and wolves and stuff, so I mean it's kind of like that, but just on a much grander scale. They remind me of the Exogorths, which are the worms that live in the asteroid that try to eat the Falcon and stuff. Like the Krayt Dragon is almost that scale of creature, and I wonder if they're all supposed to be that large, or if that's just a really old one that's grown large. Or anyway, there's lots of interesting questions to ask, but like, it was very interesting to me in the story that what ended up happening just being this all-win situation for everybody, and for us, we get to see the cool action happen, and the planning out, and it's just really interesting. So I like the Sand People and the townspeople coming together, the settlers, I guess you could call them, coming together and working against this thing. And it's just like, what the Sand People do with all the meat? I guess you could probably dry it and preserve it, and then have meat for like years to come potentially, or for like everybody to eat really well for a couple of years. If you tell all the other Sand People clans or enclaves or whatever about it, that's pretty neat. I thought it was funny that they at the end the child was like pawing that big hunk of meat that they caught from the Krayt Dragon. So anyway, that was interesting. But yeah, like there's no real like story implications for this other than like how are Mando's gonna help Din to find the child's homeworld and family. That doesn't make sense. Is like Boba Fett proper going to come back somehow? How can he? Is he going to go to the Mandalorians? Did he witness? Did he see closely enough? Like, oh, hey, there's a Mandalorian in that Razor Crest. And I'm going to go follow him and find him and rejoin the people? Or is he just like, he's just living his own life now? Like Boba Fett, not the Mandalorian, not the bounty hunter. Boba Fett, the man, is having to live and survive out in the deserts. And he's been doing it for decades. Because he's an unaltered clone of Jango. As Return of the... Oh, no, this is only like 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Sorry, I got confused for a second. Or 5 or so years. We don't know exactly how long. So, it would be interesting to see like something about Boba Fett, but I just don't know that the mass audience would be into something with Boba Fett if he's not in the armor. I'm interested. I care about Boba, all the way from his first appearance in Attack of the Clones to his stories in the Clone Wars. To seeing what would happen to him now, and to have him really fully flesh. I mean, the movies, the original films, Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, did not flesh him out. They presented this character, and he was textured more as the story went on, as Lucas decided to give him a little more attention. And I would like to see what happens with him next. So I would be all for seeing, even as I kind of was dubious about maybe this Mandalorian episode being used as like a soft pilot for Boba Fett's adventures on Tatooine. I'd also be interested in it. Like, my interest is piqued. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to deny that. But I just don't know that I'm the market for it. Although maybe I am. Who knows? Who knows how many people fit my profile? But regardless, it would have to be a good story. And I don't know what it would be at this point. I'd be more interested in seeing him survive the Sarlacc, which I guess it could do that. And then maybe his story ends with him living but losing the armor ultimately. I don't know. Anyway. I liked the Marshal. He was a cool character. Pretty fun. I mean, if this is going to be like season 1, yeah, they're going to get back together. I was actually surprised at how competent he was in the armor. You could use the Rising Phoenix, the jetpack. You could use that missile. Where did he get more missiles? That's what I want to know. Where did he get more of those missiles? Because only one fits in there at a time, and I see no place on the armor that holds more missiles. So that's kind of goofy, but. It's also just, space fantasy, space opera, right? Or maybe that was it rhyming with him shooting twice in one episode. I don't really have anything else to say. I liked the episode. Oh, I do. One more thing. I'm going to close out with this. I liked the music. There was something different about the music. It felt like the guy, Jon Favreau, who's doing the music for this. Dude seems really interesting, and I really liked something about him. I really liked something about him when I watched the behind the scenes thing about the making of the music for the Mandalorian. Anyway, it seems like he's like expanding and pushing things even further. Like there's a lot more richness to the tracks, I think. And I noticed like when they were bearing all the charges, there was like the Mandalorian's theme playing underneath that, and it's interesting to hear it in a different context. And beyond the fact that the theme is being altered and tweaked to fit different situations and serve different roles in the score, I did like the new sounds that were in there, and they were very interesting. And I'm wondering exactly where the show will go musically, because it's actually a surprisingly strong and compelling part of the show. And Star Wars music, it's so important. Yeah, it's always so important. But I didn't notice anything in Rebels. I didn't notice anything special for the most part. Clone Wars is funky because Lucas wanted like a real flavor to each world, and I just kind of rolled with that. But like this, we're getting to sit with one character for a long time as the main character. He's our lens into this world. So the music, I guess this makes sense. The music is going to be like everything's going to stem from his theme or whatever you call it, or his leitmotif. And it's going to be tweaked and whatever to fit the situation. So like this is the score of The Mandalorian. The core of it is this. That's the core, and everything else it mutates and it twists and it turns and it changes itself to kind of like how we project onto the Mandalorian's feelings or whatever by anyway, I'm abandoning that analogy. It's just interesting how it seems like that one thing is the through line, that theme is the through line, and it's being altered by everything around it. Maybe this works, kind of like how the Mandalorian is altered by all the experiences he has, all the people he encounters. It's changing him and causing him to grow and develop. The same thing is happening with the score. I hope that's true. Before I close out, though, I'm going to ask a couple questions. Who were all those people protecting the child? I think it was a bunch of Weequay in episode 1 where he, and IG-11 go and liberate the child from its former, possessors, tenders, whatever. And, who were they? Who dressed them? What's that type of clothing, that weird little, hoodie or like, hood robe thing that he's got going on? Like, where does that come from? Why was he there? It's been 50 years. How did he get taken from his people? Was it 50 years ago? Was it just 1 year ago? Was it a month before then? What's going on? And I think those are interesting questions. I think those are really, I hope those things get explored and addressed. Like, was the Mandalorian basically like the villain going in, and these people who he killed and who he and IG-11 killed were all good people who were trying to help? Like, were they Church of the Force members who were trying to protect this youngling and get him back to his family, or something like that? Or maybe he was a Force sensitive and they're still able to detect that, so they sent him. Like, I doubt all of Yoda's species is Force sensitive. That's a dumb idea. I hope that is not true. I hope there is no species since they wiped away the EU, I hope there is no species in the universe that is either all Force sensitive or all Force blind, even though, no, there's that. I was thinking about in the episode with Jar Jar and Mace Windu, the set of episodes, from the Lost Missions, those people, they're not blind, they're not Force blind, but they are, like, they don't connect to the Force in the same way as Jedi. Probably because their midichlorian count's too low. But they, have a different approach to the Force, but they can still, or they don't utilize it. They can sense it, and it's part of who they are. But so, like, that kind of thing I'm okay with, especially because it comes from Lucas. But, like, anybody being completely Force blind or, like, hyper Force, powerful, like, extra midichlorians in them or whatever because of their species, like, I don't like that idea. So I hope that's not the case for the Yoda species or the child species. But anyway, I would love to know, or I would love for like the Church of the Force or whatever to be part of the narrative potentially. I like the idea, and I want all my Star Wars to connect better. And I also hope that we find out in this season how the child got where he was being held. Who was doing it, why, all that stuff. Because I think those are important questions to answer. You can't just, we know why the plans were in R2-D2. Like, he's a bit of a MacGuffin, you could say the child is, but R2 also defies that that genre trope or whatever, or storytelling. What do you call it? Utility? Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. Like I said at the top, you can find all my Fooly operational analysis at mjmunoz.com/FO. You can find everything else I do at mjmunoz.com. I have podcasts on Tokusatsu. There's some anime stuff there. There's comics, Star Wars and non-Star Wars comics. And that's pretty much what I'm going to leave you with. So you can go ahead and check that out. Get into all the things that I enjoy and have reviewed and analyzed and whatnot, just for the sake of it, just for the fun of it. And you can listen along and comment and yell at me about stuff, and we can argue or fight or just commiserate over certain things if you want. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So until next time, folks, take care.